Since reapportionment in 2001, not a single state legislative seat has changed political parties in over 300 elections for state Senate and Assembly. That could change this November when one of the most watched and competitive legislative races in the state takes place in the 30th Assembly District. The district stretches from Bakersfield and Kern County to Kings County and parts of Tulare and Fresno County. Whichever party wins this race will be in the driver's seat in Sacramento. If the Democrats win, they could achieve the two-thirds majority needed to pass the budget without any Republican support. If the Republicans win, they will keep their strongest legislative hammer as the state's minority party, the ability to veto any state budget not to their liking. And if that weren't enough, this race includes the extraordinary situation where the termed-out Democratic incumbent, Assemblymember Nicole Parra, is supporting her former Republican challenger, Danny Gilmore, over the Democratic Party nominee, Fran Flores. Whoever wins will be asked to tackle some of the state's biggest challenges, including the state's budget mess, the deteriorating economy, water and air quality concerns, energy and high gas prices, and a crumbling and increasingly inadequate state transportation system. We will find out where the candidates stand on these issues and learn where each wants to lead California for the next 2 years.
From Fresno, the Maddie Report with Executive Director of the Maddie Institute, Mark Kebler.
Welcome. After elections in February and June, it may feel like deja vu all over again as voters head back to the polls for the third time this year, this November. No question on the November ballot, however, may be more important to the residents of the San Joaquin Valley and the state than the race in the 30th Assembly District. Whichever party's candidate wins this race will have a big say in how the state government is run over the next 2 years. If the Democrats win, they could pass major legislation in the state budget with little or any Republican support. If the Republicans win, they will continue to have veto power over the state budget and major pieces of legislation. The candidates are with us to debate the issues. Fran Flores is the Democratic candidate from Shafter. Danny Gilmore is the Republican candidate from Hanford. The ground rules for tonight's debate will be as follows. We will discuss 6 critical issues facing California: balancing our state budget, improving the state's economy, ensuring an adequate supply of water, cleaning the air we breathe, decreasing the cost of energy, including the high price of gasoline, and improving our overburdened transportation system. Each topic will begin with a question from me to the candidates. A panel of journalists from the region's leading newspapers will then ask each candidate a question on that topic. Our panelists are James Geluso from the Bakersfield Californian, Jackie Kaczmarek from the Hanford Sentinel, and Paul Hurley from the Visalia Times-Delta. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond. A yellow light will tell them when they have 10 seconds remaining, and a red light will tell them when their time is up. I will let a candidate complete a sentence, but not begin a new thought. So that each candidate has an opportunity, I will call time if a candidate goes over his or her allotted time. So let's begin. First, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
One of the issues I'd like to start with, our first topic, not surprisingly, is the state budget that was recently passed. It was extraordinarily late. Despite the promise by the governor and the state legislature that they weren't going to kick the can down the road, many experts say that's exactly what they did. The new budget, which was 3 months late, did little to put a dent in our ongoing gap between income and spending. Experts say that next year's budget may already be $6 to $7 billion in the red. To make matters even worse, the state seems to have shifted some of the costs to county and local governments. And let me give you an example. It's reported that the Medi-Cal cuts will cost the county-owned Kern Medical Center $600,000 because it cannot refuse care. KMC already has a massive debt owed to the Kern County General Fund, so Kern County residents are going to have to make up this lost revenue somehow. So, should the state legislature pass a law allowing hospitals to refuse medical care, or do we cut other services and raise taxes? If so, what specific programs would have to be cut, and/or what specific taxes would have to be raised? Ms. Flores.
Okay, well, let me start first. You know, I've been on my city council for 12 years, and for 12 years we've put forth a budget, we've balanced it, it's been on time. There's no reason why the state legislature can't do the same thing. I think that, you know, in order to, you know, face this budget deficit, I think that we have to work together. I think there are tax loopholes out there that could be closed. I don't think that we need to burden the people that cannot afford a tax increase, so I'm not in favor of increasing any tax of any type.
Mr. Gilmore.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm pleased that the governor has set a rainy day fund aside. I think that what we need to do here really is to amend the state constitution, if you will, and put a cap on spending. We have, our spending is totally out of control. In the last 4 years, we've had an increase in revenue in the state, a 40% increase in revenues, and at the same time we've had a 44% increase in spending. We can't run a government like that, we can't run our home like that, and we certainly can't run a budget like that. We are going to have to control the spending in order to fund public safety and a number of other programs.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Mr. Geluso, you've got the next question.
Mr. Gilmore, the state legislature currently has the right to unilaterally borrow from local governments and from special funds. Under what circumstances should the legislature use those funds to balance the budget?
I'm not comfortable with the state borrowing funds from the local government at all. Again, I go back to what I just said before. We're going to have to control spending in this state before we can really have a healthy economy here. If we're not controlling spending, then we're going to continue going down, as was said in the opening comment here, kicking this can down the road. It's as simple as that. It's really robbing Peter to pay Paul here. When you're going to the local governments, it's very, very difficult to run the government efficiently that way.